Thank you.
No, you're good. Take all the room you want. Perfect.
Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 12th regular City Council meeting. And with that, D. Stiles Elliott, our City Clerk, will you please call roll?
Mayor Benjamin.
Present.
Councilmember Fajarin.
Here.
Councilmember McDonald.
Here.
Councilmember Parks.
Here.
Councilmember Schulmus.
Oh, here.
Councilmember Vance.
Here.
Councilmember Weller.
Present.
Councilmember Wright.
Here.
Great. For community announcements, the first one, and this is a sad one, you may have heard that Daniel Records Galbraith passed away on April 28th at the age of 42. He's a former city council member. Dan was a bright light during his time in our community. He received a bachelor degree in political science from WSU in 2004 and a law degree from the University of Idaho in 2010, and was known on the Palouse for his dedication to civil rights, justice, and community service. He was elected to Pullman City Council in 2018 and served as a Ward 2 council member until 2021 when he left Pullman to take a position at Western Washington University. Our thoughts are with his family and loved ones. He'll definitely be missed, and I definitely enjoyed the time that I had working with him on different projects. So just for people to know, he's someone who's missed, and I'm sure other council members will comment during their time. Continuing on with other community announcements, we do have vacancies on various committees and commissions. That include the Cemetery Committee, Environmental Resilience Commission, Lodging Tax Advisory, the Lodging Tax Advisory does not, Pullman Parks and Recreation, Planning Commission, and Police Advisory. Those are examples. To apply for any of our board vacancies, please visit pullman-wa.gov/boards-commissions. We have Bishop Boulevard resurfacing project that's begin on Monday, May 18th. This project will involve resurfacing the stretch of Southeast Bishop Boulevard that runs from South Grand Avenue to Southeast Fairmont Drive by the hospital. During construction, Bishop will be closed to through traffic between Grand and Fairmont. Fairmont will serve as the detour route for the traffic. Businesses on Bishop will be open. Bishop will be reduced to one lane each direction, and local and business traffic will be allowed to drive on Bishop. You'll be able to access Bishop from Harvest Drive, Brailsford Drive, and Fairmont Drive. You'll not be able to turn onto Bishop from Grand Avenue. For more information about this and other city construction projects, visit pullman-wa.gov/traffic_control. We have a summer swim sale going on. Spend all summer swimming at Rainy Park Pool for a great price. The 2026 early bird sale ends on Sunday, May 31st, and Rainy Park Pool opens on Saturday, June 13th. You can visit pullman-wa.gov/swim to buy your passes. And the community book swap is coming up at Neal Public Library this Saturday, May 16th. From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Bring books in good condition that you're ready to part with and swap them for books you want to read. Participation is free. To see more community events, visit the city's tourism page at visit-pullman.com/events. The next item on our agenda is community comments. This agenda item is the opportunity for the public to bring comments to the attention of elected officials. Specifically, this item is reserved for public comments, concerns, or other information not related to a previous public hearing. This agenda item for comments will not exceed 30 minutes in total. Comments be directed to the mayor of the city council as a body. No comments are directed to an individual council member. With that, would anybody like to provide community comments?
Yes, I would.
If so, please come to the microphone. You're fine, and we'll have 2 minutes for the comments, and if you could at the start state your name so we make sure we get it accurate in the record.
Okay.
How y'all doing? So
I really appreciate what you just read about Dan Records, because I'm here to talk about Dan Records. Dan Records was a great guy. You could approach him and talk to him, whether you were in his district or whether you worked at WSU, or whether he was always willing to listen and to help you, and he was really approachable. In fact, I called him after he moved to his other job, and because I knew he could answer my question, and he did, and he could have blown me off, but that was not Dan's way. So we should honor Dan. Dan's part of Pullman Pride. We are proud of Pullman. We are proud of Dan Records. We're proud of his accomplishments. And one of his accomplishments was he got the pride flag raised over Pullman. And we should do that in his honor. Now, Pullman Pride is coming out. That's a good time to raise it, or put it up now. But honor Dan, because he's worth it. And again, we are proud of Pullman. We should be proud of Dan, too. Okay? So, up the flag.
Would anybody else like to provide community comments?
Hello, Bobby Ryder, Downtown Pullman Association. I want to thank the council for passing a vacancy ordinance. I think it's going to make a difference in our downtown. However, at the last minute and without review or discussion, y'all voted to cover vacant windows, and I am here to explain why that's a bad idea. Covering the windows of vacant downtown commercial buildings with paper, paint, or permanent closed blinds can create several urban and economic problems, and it only takes a few covered windows to hurt all downtown businesses. So here are a few of the issues. 1, it makes the street feel abandoned. 2, it discourages foot traffic. 3, it can increase perceptions of crime and insecurity. And 4, it hurts downtown economic recovery. Covered windows stop people's imagination about the potential of opening a downtown business. 5, it removes natural light and surveillance, so the sense of safety, which it weakens civic identity. Downtown storefronts are part of a city's public face. Active windows showcase local businesses, architecture, art, and culture. Large stretches of covered glass erase that character. The visual effect of covered windows on downtown vitality is significant. Clean windows, on the other hand, on vacant buildings have the opposite effect. They spark people's imagination and curiosity, and it makes it so they can envision the possible. Thank you for listening to this. I also want to acknowledge that the Art Walk will be this Saturday from 10 to 6. The Farmers Market is in the downtown from 9 to 3. And Music on Main starts May 28th on Pine Street, at Pine Street Plaza, 6 to 8. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to provide a community comment?
My name's Rick Grunwald. Mayor Benjamin and members of the council, last Thursday was the National Day of Prayer. Over 50 people were out here by the flagpole from various churches praying for our country, praying for our state, praying for our communities, praying for you all. That was a great time. I woke up the next morning with a verse from Isaiah on my heart, and I believe it applies to Pullman. Isaiah 43:19 says, "See, I will do a new thing. It will begin happening now. Will you not know about it? I will even make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." I believe that. Whether you believe in God or not, let's look for a new promise for Pullman. Ways through the wilderness. And let's continue to ask for it. Our God is a God who answers prayer. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to provide a community comment? Seeing none, we'll go close community comment. Next item up is council member comments. And I'll start with Councilmember Shumas. This agenda item is the opportunity for city council members to bring general comments on non-agenda related items to the attention of other elected officials in the community. And with that, Councilmember Shumas.
Great. I printed it out so I don't miss anything. Okay. I wanted to thank Allison Montrotolo for taking the time to walk me through the College Hill area and engage with me in a visual and practical way. She helped me better understand the challenges facing a densely populated neighborhood like College Hill, as well as many of the design standards that are intended to improve functionality and quality of life. And I came away realizing just how important trash and dumpster placement is in such a dense neighborhood. And it gave me a better appreciation for the logistical challenges of that area. I also wanted to highlight again the Rotary Memorial Fountain Project at the Pullman City Playfield. And I wanted to mention that Art Walk was this weekend. And I wanted to, two last things. I wanted to give a huge thank you to the city staff. I've sent out like this huge flurry of learning emails this last week, and everybody's been very patient and done a really good job of explaining things to me. And I just wanted to say thank you. You know, I'm still one of the new kids on the block, and you guys are amazing. And then I wanted to say thank you to Barbara. I know that getting here, I think she's gone. I know that getting here wasn't easy, and I too miss Dan very much. So thank you.
Councilmember Parks?
Thank you. I just want to add some my thoughts about Dan Records and his family. Dan brought a very refreshing point of view to the council in that he thought about everybody, not just what he was interested in, not just what he thought should be done, but he did think about everybody. And we all know from his background that that's just naturally who he is or was, but I really always appreciated that. And then when someone would say, he was first on council, and he's like, why do people say there's no parking? He goes, you know what? I'm gonna go count the spots. And he did. He counted every single parking spot in downtown Pullman. It was like 165 or something like that. So I just really appreciated not only that, but just his intelligence and his kindness and his compassion for everyone in our city, and he will be greatly missed.
Councilmember McDonald?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I never knew Dan, never met him, but certainly everyone that I hear from speaks highly of him, and I admire the reputation that he had and the impact that I hear about that he had in the community. The other thing I wanted to mention is one of the things that I think has been kind of tricky and a little bit of a learning curve for all of us new city council members is the complications with like state laws and regulations and social norms and everything with social posts. And it's definitely a delicate balance, and it's one I'm still learning. It's one I know that I need to get out there and find the most effective and appropriate ways to communicate better with the broader community. And one thing I do want to do is thank Nathan for always being willing to put himself out there and engage with the community.
That, Councilmember Weller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilman McDonald. I really appreciate it. I'm like a bull in a china shop, so that's, you know, have a lot of scars over the 18-plus years, but it's important for us to be able to communicate, connect, and, you know, be as open to the passions of our community, but also encourage civility. I think that is something that, unfortunately, we are very challenged with, whether that's local or state or national. It's a sense of civility. And it's not just me. It's also staff has experienced this, and I didn't expect to actually say anything. So I'll try and keep this one short. Certain comments can raise to the level, I don't, it's difficult, but I feel most for staff who end up having to field comments. They can become emotionally crippling, abusive, and even though there is passion that comes through there and there's some ideas that are good that come through it, we need to find a way to say things differently. Community, us as elected officials as well. There needs to be a sense of, common sense is the only way I can say. So anyways, I'm not going to labor on that. I appreciate it. I just wanted to say a great big thanks for the crosswalk signal across Stadium Way by Liebecker Street. This was a huge thing. There are kids that cross by there all the time. And it was dangerous because people are speeding, 30 miles an hour and often don't see kids there or students, individuals. I also want to say the goats at the conservation park were phenomenal. They were so cool to see. I think I stepped in a few piles, but other than that, I mean, it was really, really awesome to see. If anybody has a chance next year to see that, the ability to take care of our weeds with the goats rather than with pesticides and that, it's really cool. We had a great Veterans Resource event. That was awesome. I feel like the connection with veterans, active military is growing, and I enjoy seeing all of that passion there. So it was great to see that. Of course, Dan Records, man, he had some good cheese parties, I tell you what. Don't worry, there was never a quorum there. But, he was somebody who was so approachable and also kept a level head. I learned more from him, I think, than most people, other than probably Francis, keeping a level head under stress and pressure. And he always had an even way of talking to people and making you feel like you're heard. I will say, lastly, we did lose another person that made an impact in our region, and that was Pat O'Neill. Mm-hmm. He was a county commissioner. He was very passionate about poverty and homelessness. He helped to bring about the bus stop over by Community Action Center. We started the emergency fund with him, and when he lost his election, he asked me to take over as the chair of that group, and I named it, he didn't know for many years later, in honor of him, the Poverty Awareness Task Force, PAT. Both of them will be sorely missed. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry for taking so much.
No, it's not a problem. Councilmember Fajarin?
Thank you, and thank you, Nathan, for those words about Pat O'Neill. He was a personal friend and just a great person to be around, very passionate. Thank you for the comments today. I also want to share some comments about Dan Records. Such a leader, especially in the LGBT community. We're talking about civility, and he was always somebody who was willing to talk to whoever, bringing the community together, and he's somebody that will be very missed. In lieu of flowers or money, they are asking for donations to Inland Oasis, which is a local nonprofit. And so if you want to continue the work that Dan cared about, you can donate to inlandoasis.org/donate today. Councilmember Vance?
Yeah, hearing about the impact that Dan Records had is it's pretty incredible. I didn't know him personally as well, but all of you have spoken very highly of him. He will be missed. So, and then Nathan, also, I wanted to applaud Nathan for, you're always out at stuff and always sharing. I feel like if I ever curious about what's going on in Pullman, I can always find out from you, and you're not shy about sharing, and I hope that you continue to share and don't shy away from it. So thank you, Nathan, for doing that.
Councilmember Wright?
Thank you, Francis. I also would like to share some thoughts about Dan. And I sat next to Dan for 2 years, and it was my privilege to do so. I could always look to him for a good head nod, and I signal that, you know, we're doing the right thing. And that was always very, very meaningful to me because I know he was so thoughtful about everything that he said and did. I also had the opportunity to work with him on a public art subcommittee of council and got to know him a little bit better as a result of doing that. And that only broadened my respect for him. He was just absolutely amazing. I was very saddened to learn of his relocating to Bellingham. He was a dear, kind man that many have said was caring and compassionate and always respectful. And Dan, your global presence will be sorely missed. Godspeed.
Thank you, everyone. Great words. The last item that I have is, for those that may not know, the airport restaurant is now reopened, and so do check that out. It's open both on the land side and the air side, secure side, so you can stop in. I actually stopped in there on Saturday and had one of their spicy breakfast sandwiches, and it was pretty good. So there's another option in town. Councilmember Parks?
So just if you go there, the airport has free parking for 2 hours. You still have to take the ticket, but as long as you're not there for 2 hours, when you approach the gate, it just magically opens. So it doesn't cost you anything parking-wise. And also, I believe that Tony told me that it is open like an hour and a half before departing flights. Does that sound, okay. So,
Yeah, they're still working out all the hours and times
Yeah.
for it.
Thank you.
Next item up is future regular agenda requests. Do any council members have a future agenda request? Councilmember McDonald?
Okay, so when I was running for city council, one of the things that kind of spurred me into running was literally running past the Pine Street Bridge every day while it was off its rails. And it's that time of year, and I'm running again, and I'm thinking about how ironic it is that it's off the rails again. I would love to have, as a study session, a discussion on what are we going to, right, I know we don't like fixing it every year. I think there's a little bit of a gotcha last year. I think there's a gotcha this year, and, but still, like, what are we doing? What's the, like, some of that's awareness for the community, some of that's us being part of the solution. I mean, we're getting asked about it, but something that's like a study session discussion about the Pine Street Bridge.
Second. Is there a second? I heard a second. Staff, do you have enough information?
I'll task my Public Works Director to bring something to us, and might be the next meeting, might not, so we'll see how it goes. But yes, we'll bring something sooner than later.
Thanks.
Okay, any other requests? If not, next item is presentations. Make sure, okay. Have to make sure I'm not skipping anything. The first one is I have a proclamation for Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical services, EMS, is our vital public service whose members stand ready to provide life-saving care 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves survival and recovery for those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas our emergency service system is made up of first responders, EMTs, paramedics, dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, nurses, physicians, and trained members of the public who together form a continuum of out-of-hospital care. And whereas the members of these teams, caregivers and volunteers alike, devote thousands of hours to training and continuing education to sharpen their life-saving skills. and whereas it's fitting we recognize the dedication and accomplishments of those who serve in this position, now therefore I, Francis Benjamin, Mayor of the City of Pullman, do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through the 23rd, 2026 as Emergency Medical Services Week in the City of Pullman in recognition of the 52nd anniversary of EMS Week and this year's theme, Improving Outcomes Together. I encourage our community to observe this week with appropriate programs and ceremonies honoring EMS professionals and essential service it provides. And I think this very much dovetails into our next one, which is the American Legion Law and Order Awards. And with that, we'll start with Chief Bashirs.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. I think that it's important we kind of look back and reflect upon those who have sacrificed and made a life of service to our community. And the first people that I want to acknowledge is the American Legion. Our members are here today from the American Legion, and they have already provided service to our country and our community, and they continue doing so today. And by honoring other officers, dispatchers, and firefighters in our community who are providing that service. So I thank the American Legion for being here and for recognizing those members of our public safety community that should be acknowledged for the great things that they do for our community. With that, the American Legion members will come up now.
Thank you, Chief, for those kind words. Good evening, everyone. Because of the number of awards to be presented tonight, we have prepared information on the basis for the awards and the name of the persons receiving the awards, and copies of that information are available to anyone here tonight. Our first awards are for humanitarian and life-saving awards, which are not restricted to public safety personnel, but may be given to any member of the community who either has performed an act that results in the saving of a life or who has performed an act that is considered humanitarian in nature. I will call the names in alphabetic order of officers present with a certificate pertaining to this award. And I want to apologize before we start if I mispronounce your name. Sergeant Nathan Padra, Officer Darren Romero, Officer Ibrin Talib, and I believe one officer is not present.
Sergeant Patterday is unable to be with us this evening.
So, congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Okay. 911 Operator of the Year. Criteria for this award is that the recipient be a full-time paid 911 operator selected from a public or private agency that is responsible for receiving 911 calls and dispatching fire, medical, or law enforcement services. The selected nominee may be either a call receiver or a dispatcher. Dispatcher, call taker, Aubrey Springer, please come forward to receive a certificate. Aubrey was also selected as the Department of Washington 911 Operator of the Year and will receive a plaque at the Department Convention in July.
Aubrey is unable to be with us here this evening. The WITCOM Director, Wendy Barrett, will be here to receive it on her behalf.
Paramedic Emergency Medical Technician of the Year Award is based on the criteria of the American Legion National. The nominee must be certified firefighter and be assigned within the state of Washington for actions within the city of Pullman. The nominee must meet the training requirements of the Washington State Department of Health for EMT. Paramedics are eligible to receive this award if they are a certified firefighter and assigned within the state of Washington, and the recognition is for actions within the city of Pullman. Firefighter Medic Jared Hildebrand, please come forward to receive a certificate.
Greatly appreciate you recognizing. Thank you very much.
Okay. Old fingers don't work too good sometimes. Outstanding Law Enforcement Officer of the Year Award, which is restricted to a member of local, county, or state law enforcement agencies. Our post requires that the officer's actions must have occurred in or been involved in the behalf of the city of Pullman. The Pullman Police criteria for this award is that an officer's work during the past year that best exemplifies excellence in the law enforcement contribution to the police department and the community. Officer Liv St. Andre, please come forward and receive a certificate. In addition to a certificate for this award, his name is placed on a plaque of award recipients at the Pullman Police Department. Congratulations. This concludes the awards presentation tonight. We encourage any citizen or public safety official to contact our American Legion post at Post Office Box 24 in Pullman 99163, any American Legion member or the Pullman Police or Fire Department with nominations for this year of 2026. Thank you very much.
I had the city clerk provide you a copy of the details for the nominations for each of the officers, the dispatcher, and the firefighter. Please take time to read that. Our people truly do great things in our community, and the things that they do to help and save lives is very important. So thank you.
Thank you again. Our next item for presentation is Pullman Chamber of Commerce Tourism Promotion. And with that, Sean Miller, Economic Development Manager, will start that.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, for having us. I don't have any awards to hand out, but if I could hand awards out, I'd give it to this chamber team that we've been working with over the last few months to solidify our tourism contract deliverables. It's something that we've worked hard on as a team, really got to solidify our structure as a new team and understand how we're going to work together. And I'm really excited to push forward with this group out of the chamber. It's the first time I've worked directly with the tourism contract, so really excited. I know it's the first time for a few of these guys as well, being new to the chamber. So I think we'll be able to knock it out of the park. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over here to, I think we've got JJ on line, and then Pete and Madeline will stand by to answer any questions that you guys might have as well. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. Let me share my screen. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the Pullman City Council, Administrator Wells, and Mayor Benjamin for the opportunity to discuss where Pullman tourism was in 2025, where it's currently been this 2026, and where it can go from 2027 onwards. I also want to take the time to recognize our city leaders and partners, the Pullman Chamber of Commerce team and board, and the entire Pullman community. From when I first started in October to now, one thing has been most salient to me. Pullman has a lot to offer, and we have many amazing individuals and groups working toward common goals. Tourism is truly a collaborative effort among all our teams, and Visit Pullman looks forward to continuing to do our part to help ensure Pullman's tourism success in the long term. In 2025, the Pullman Chamber of Commerce set the foundation for building Pullman's tourism reach. The newest technology from Placer AI provided more accurate data for event attendance, visitation, and market analysis. The influencer trend only continues to grow, so our productive partnership with CrowdRiff engaged creators who help capture content and bring an outsider and traveler's perspective to the Visit Pullman brand. And the first tourism event I was a part of, our holiday festival and tree lighting ceremony, demonstrated the power of people uniting to celebrate and grow the event. From 2025 tourism efforts, the new Visit Pullman website garnered over 65,000 online sessions. The tourism and events budgets remained fiscally sound and balanced overall, and Visit Pullman channels connected with more than 2,200 new followers across all channels. Our Visit Pullman team looks forward to bringing our town's tourism potential to the next level, which involves strategies to increase awareness, collaboration, and engagement. Perhaps our biggest opportunity is Pullman's flagship tourism event, the National Lentil Festival. In the past few months, our planning committee discussed the vision to expand the festival and designated our 2026 event as a transition year to learn more about how best to move forward. The 2025 National Lentil Festival was a major success, drawing in over 9,300 visitors to Pullman. My predecessor's efforts to improve the site layout and operations, along with partner involvement and customer feedback, informed how the festival will continue into the coming years. At the forefront of this planning is an overall emphasis and return to agricultural themes and increasing the number of food and artisan vendors present at the festival. Our team is concurrently planning the 2026 and 2027 events, engaging local, regional, national, and international markets as part of that process. Building on the success of the 2025 event, our strategies reflect our primary goal of elevating our festival to help sustain its reputation as a destination event that will drive even more visitor traffic to Pullman. Similar to 2025, Pullman's tourism continues to strengthen our partnerships. For example, within the first quarter of 2026, Visit Pullman collaborated with Dryland Media to grow our YouTube channel, plan our newest tourism video series on YouTube called This is Pullman, and capture compelling stories. Stellar and Parade magazine recognized Pullman as a national finalist for America's Favorite Small Towns, thanks to many of you who voted and shared daily. And in the effort to increase community involvement and awareness, Visit Pullman conducted local outreach, which included focus groups and educational visits. Feedback and information from these sessions are already being considered and implemented across our teams, including our WSU and BZ Coliseum partners, so stay tuned for what's ahead. On the digital landscape, Visit Pullman continues to make strides as well. Our social media following, both on Visit Pullman and Lentil Fest channels, has grown throughout 2025. We have seen higher engagement from developing content based on viral trends and leaning more into what makes Pullman special. Of course, our work won't stop online. In the next year, residents and visitors can expect more efforts to build on Pullman's tourism potential, including Pullman-themed merchandise available later this summer and fall at the Pullman Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center, as well as new and reimagined events, including Holiday Fest on December 5th, with the addition of an artisan marketplace. We will roll out more information on these events starting this October. Visit Pullman believes in our community's resilience, heart, and passion. We look forward to developing positive, productive relationships and expanding collaborative opportunities for all stakeholders. Thank you for your time and energy.
I just want to take a minute. Pete Chitton, Executive Director with the Pullman Chamber of Commerce. So a couple of quick things. First and foremost, T-minus 3-ish weeks, and Tim and I celebrate 1 year working with the Pullman Chamber. And the amount of things that this tourism team has been doing, working directly with the city and working with Sean, which has just been an incredible opportunity to grow together as a team as we recognize what's working, what's not working, how to improve, what changes to make as we continue to move forward. And even though JJ joined us in October of last year, he and Madeline have just been working their tails off to find a way how to increase tourism in our community and how to outreach through social media, all the above, and we're excited about the future of where those things go. And before we step away or go to questions, I'd like Madeline to talk a little bit about the increase in social media and the numbers that have been hitting across the tourism website and such. So one moment.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who might not know me, I know most of you do, but my name is Madeline Maxwell. I'm the communications coordinator for Visit Pullman and the Pullman Chamber of Commerce, so I work closely with JJ on our digital marketing for Visit Pullman. Pete asked me to talk a little bit about our social media. I know JJ touched on this in our presentation. You might have seen that our impressions were pretty significant for 2025. I would like to clarify that that's to year end of 2025. So we gained over 2,000 new followers across our Visit Pullman platforms and gained 46,000 active sessions on our Visit Pullman website, which was new in 2025. That's an excellent starting point. In 2026, we have furthered our digital marketing efforts, including amping up the use of CrowdRiff, which is a platform where we can input prompts for content we would like to see gathered in the community, whether that's visiting a new business or sending individuals to visit an event. And micro-influencers in our region can then bid on those prompts, secure them, and then they go and film content for us, which is incredible in terms of building our content library and diversifying perspectives for stories. We have since rolled out a lot of those videos on our social media, and we've increased the number of videos we rolled out in 2026 with the help of some incredible StratCom interns at WSU. And so our content continues to grow. We have gotten into the hundreds of thousands in terms of views, especially on our Visit Pullman TikTok channel. We have also created a TikTok account for the National Lentil Festival, which launched last month and has already grown significantly in its following. So please follow us on TikTok, on YouTube. JJ mentioned our This is Pullman series. Stay tuned for more videos there. And then we continue to maintain a presence on Facebook and Instagram as well. So we will be continuing to roll out that short form video content as well as still photography into 2026.
You have questions or you have more to go?
No, I believe we're solid. Yeah,
Okay,
thank
great,
you. Sorry.
great. So with that, any questions from the council? Councilmember Parks.
Thank you. I just want to congratulate you, Pete, on your 1-year anniversary, you and Tim, and I'm so excited about JJ and Madeline. Her name just went out of my head. You all have done really amazing things this year. You've re-energized the chamber, You've remodeled the chamber, you've re-landscaped the outside to make it very noticeable, but that is our Chamber of Commerce, and that's important. It was sort of a quiet little building, and people just passively driving by would not have known. Well, now they know. So congratulations to you and your team. You're doing a great job.
Councilmember Fajardo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I have one question, but I just want to heap on some more praise with congratulations on your 1 year, Pete. When you first said you were going to be hired to the chamber, I couldn't think of somebody better for the position. You had a vision for the chamber, and it's evident that you're taking the city and the team there, so thank you. And Madeline, thank you so much. I know we sat down last week, first met each other. I know I have an email that I still have to reply to you, so I'll make sure to reply to that by tomorrow. But thank you for going the membership, the focus on members, and then focusing on just making Pullman the best it can be. And my question is, I know in our contract we had identified necessary KPIs for success. Have those been identified yet?
So I will step in and then let JJ answer. So our focus for this year was to finalize the previous contract, which went through 2025, which is a little different than the new contract that we all worked on together as a team. And so we're happy to report on anything that is necessary or moving forward based on the new contract. And even if we miss something that we need to get to you, we're more than happy to do so. But as for the closing out of 2025 with a couple of new folks trying to do somebody else's reporting. So, but we left that out on purpose specific to the 23, 24, 25 contract.
Makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense that we're talking about 2025.
And that's the challenge, is this is a report from 2025, not reference to the new contract, which is now coming in play.
Yes, sir.
For that. Councilmember Vance? And then.
Thank you, and congrats on a 1 year work anniversary. That's a fun milestone to you and Tim. My question, so a statement first and then question. So I have noticed kind of a shift in the social media engagement or sort of the material that's put out there, and so I think it's great. And I am curious, like I don't have TikTok, I'm probably just old enough to not really be in that demographic. And I'm curious, does the content that is made and then put on like TikTok differ much from like what's put on Instagram or Facebook, or, right, because typically that segment of the market will be younger. And so I'm just curious if it's the same kind of material or if it differs at all.
Let you or JJ step in there, yeah.
Yes, the content we put out on TikTok is the same across all platforms, and the primary reason being that we want to reach more people. So you mentioned that the youth tend to engage with TikTok more, but older adults tend to engage with Facebook, and so we're wanting to reach as many people as we can and put out similar content there.
Councilmember Weller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, of course, heaping praise. I mean, I do feel over the years seeing the chamber evolve and great new visions. I follow your TikTok, and it's great content. Few things, two questions. One, Nextdoor. I can't remember because I'm on there, but I'm not sure if, do you have a presence on Nextdoor?
The chamber does not have an official presence on Nextdoor. We have discussed it, and that's something that I would be happy to further discuss with Pete and our board of directors. It is monitored by our chamber team in a private and personal capacity. We would certainly not be opposed to discussing the matter with our executive.
Okay, super. Yeah, I just know that's a lot of locals are there, and I think it'd be effective strategy. The other question I would have is, as I was getting a personal trainer license, what the National Academy of Sports Medicine kept putting in their training is the importance, and I'm going through the nutrition training now, the importance of lentils and, you know, beans and these sorts of things. And I was wondering, especially with the Lentil Festival, we have the usual stuff, the USDA, you know, we can make chili, things like that. Have you thought about, you know, fuel your activity, fuel your recreation, muscle building, all of these things? Because when I look at Pullman, and the mayor and I have talked about this and some other people, but I see Pullman as really recreation centered. A lot of activity, I mean, you know your dad, you know, we're very recreation centered, whether that's football, whether that's biking and trails, and I even see people doing cross-country skiing on the trails. I could see a real, you know, good advertising about Lentil Festival as fuel your activity or recreation. Anyways, I'm spitballing and I'm going to be quiet. That's when I get long.
I hear an Iron Man recommendation for adding an event. Councilmember Shumas?
Sure. Okay, well, one of the greatest highlights of my life is getting to sit on the chamber board. I have really enjoyed it, and I was there when your year started, and I, along with everybody else, think that it's the best thing that's happened to the chamber in years. And I think that the three of you guys have a vision, and you have energy, and you have drive, and I think that you love Pullman. And in a world full of online naysayers about Pullman, I couldn't be happier that the three of you are driving our future for business and for promotion. And I just want to thank you for letting me get to work with you and go to these meetings with you guys, and you guys are amazing. So thank you.
Councilmember McDonald?
Yeah, so I just want to echo I've been going to chamber meetings off and on for a while, and I'll definitely say, the result of showing up late now versus in the past, it's like you might not have a seat. If you are a local business and you're watching this, it's like, I'm just telling you, if you're not a member already, you better get with it or you're not going to have a seat. I'm looking forward to continuing to work with you guys. We're going to talk about goals later on today, but you're going to hear, I'm sure we're going to hear about tourism. We're going to hear about business-friendly approach, and that's something that I think the chamber has a really great perspective on. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. So I can't see Councilmember Wright, so I'm not sure.
Hello?
So yes. So Councilmember Wright, I had this impression that it was coming.
So, in light of the fact that this will point out to everyone that I am just old, and that is that I have served on the chamber board since 1989. And over those years, I have seen a lot of changes in people, changes in direction, changes in philosophy, and I can honestly say that this new group has been the culmination of all those various transformations. And I can't be happier with the work that they've done so far and all of the great and monumental things that we have in our future. So thank you, Pete, JJ, Madeline. You guys are all fabulous, and we are lucky to have you. Thank you.
And I can echo that too. I appreciate the energy, the skill, the passion of the team with the chamber. It's great working in a collaborative fashion with the vision and a joint vision moving the community forward. We're very excited about that. Any last thoughts, Pete? You get the last word?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you all so much for the support, the trust, the belief, and for all the help, because we certainly didn't get this far on our own. It took a lot. I mean, Mayor Benjamin was our representative for Walk of Fame right out the door. I think I was in the door day one for 2 seconds, and he said, "How can I help?" And I said, I don't know anything about this. So it didn't happen on our own. It took our entire community. We've had a ton of people coming through the door and telling us historical, our board members who have helped tremendously, even through Cabaret, all the above. I would love to say that we had a big impact on that. We didn't. We were there to support while everything else went on around us, and it was incredible as we continue to learn. It's not one person doing anything. It is our community as a whole, and getting to know the city of Pullman, the people that work with the city of Pullman, our administrators, and having open conversations about the future of Pullman has been absolutely a blessing, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds and what we can build and do together. So thank you all so very much. We appreciate the time.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is a legislative update. I had the opportunity 2 weeks ago to attend AWC's Legislative Priorities Committee. I'm one of 33 members representing the 281 cities that are within Washington. I've handed out to each of you the 2026 legislative session. This is their update of where our session landed, what were the issues. You can see the main 5 areas that AWC focused on last year was around indigent defense, shared revenues, housing supply, transportation, and then they had other significant issues that kind of grouped together. Within that, you can see where they felt the pros and the cons with how the legislative process went, along with the different bills that are associated with. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have related to that, and then I can talk about future things. So any questions related to these? And if you have any, if you don't have any now, that's fine. We can come back, and I'm happy to talk later. One of the things that as the committee, as we looked through and talked about how the legislative session went, what we realized is that there's been a significant, well, we say significant, but there's been a change in who is in the legislature and the process they got to the legislature, to where there's not as many legislators that are coming up through the community and community service or even service on local government. And so because of that, there's not the same level of trust in local government, the work the local government is doing, and you'll see there were a number of areas where preemptions happened. And the concept of the legislature saying, cities, you're not doing a good enough job, so we're just going to take and change what are the parking requirements, what are housing, taking storefronts that are empty and now we're turning them into housing. So we're seeing that the legislature, there's a challenge in that way that we want to work back. The main areas that we talked about as a committee was, rather than having these 5 areas, our 2 main areas that we've started the discussions on is around financial stability. How do we make sure that we're partnering with the legislature and the legislature is giving us the necessary tools for local government to be financially stable. And then the second one is around housing. Those are the 2 main areas that really focused. We had a number of discussions around public records. The concern is the political capital to spend on public records probably won't get us anywhere. And so there's a lot of discussion really focused on the financial stability and housing. Our next meeting will be during the annual conference, and so I'm interested in continuing to get thoughts from our council as what are the areas that I should be bringing to there to advocating for, to working to get on AWC's legislative agenda, and in the same context, understanding once council, you complete the goals and priorities piece that we're currently working on. The next thing that will happen is that we'll then look at our legislative agenda and what are the goals and priorities that we want to roll into our legislative agenda, because that'll be the next piece of conversation. Sean, I know this is a joint item, and so do you have additional things that you wanted to share?
No, you covered a lot of it, and you're on the committee, so. No, I just wanted to highlight some of the things that, in the pros and cons portions of that brochure, that somewhat affect Pullman specifically, that, both pro and con. With the I can never say that word, indigent defense, there was a lot of unfortunate bills that didn't get passed that would have maybe helped Pullman in that case. Transportation had some diversion of monies appropriating projects to local transportation projects. There were some other things there that, and I didn't put my notes on here, and I had them in another piece of paper, so I apologize. But one of them that did come in is that there was not an expanded civil liability and litigation costs for cities in cases where vulnerable road users were struck by drivers. That would have opened up Pandora's box for lawsuits should there have been any accidents that happens in that case. There were some other ones in there, but overall, I think, there was wins and losses all the way around. So I think Mayor Benjamin actually, provided a very good summary of everything that happened. So
I'm happy to answer any questions, or if there's any input that you have as I'm working on this committee, because part of it is for us, we're going to end up working and developing our legislative agenda that we want to be able to have impact. But then we also want to make sure that we can influence into other areas, and that's where, with me being on the legislative committee for AWC, we're able to work to make sure that our voice isn't lost in the midst of the other 281 cities. Councilmember McDonald?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I mean, obviously, we're a border town, and I think us being able to bring the perspective of being a border town with Idaho is something that we definitely should be bringing to this committee. And then the other thing related to that is, I think, trying to find that right balance where we are in a heavily regulated state, and maybe guidance from AWC to help us recognize where, like, maybe the city's role can be, how do we efficiently comply with that without piling onto it. I feel like there's some opportunities in both of those areas where we could bring some unique perspective.
And
semi-unique.
I'm glad you brought up the border community. I've had some very good conversations with other border community elected officials, and there is an interest for creating this border community coalition that looks at it, and it's not just on the city side, but I have some ports that are interested, and also some counties that are interested as a part of this. But it's how do we message to the legislature to understand that a one size doesn't fit all, and what's the right strategy to approach to the legislature related to it. So if you have thoughts on that, that's something that we're definitely going to continue the conversations at the annual conference when we have more of them together. Councilmember Shumas?
Yeah, I just had a quick question on the housing supply thing. This all looks pretty narrow focus, like condominiums, or I'm not sure condominiums, or housing and homelessness, manufactured home parks, that sort of stuff. But are they doing anything to make it easier to build homes in Washington State, make it less expensive? Are they recognizing that that's a problem?
We had a panel of 3 legislators that joined us during the lunchtime, and one of the legislators actually specifically talked about the work that she's doing in order to advance a bill that would allow for manufactured homes to where you manufacture at one site in a less expensive way, but then, and once again, this would be a preemption where what they're talking is identifying 5 to 6 different designs that are then zoned throughout the entire state as acceptable, to where you basically build the concrete pad and then you just bring these in and drop them on. So there's some discussions that are going on, other ways in order to reduce what the cost is to build. The biggest challenge the legislature have is this balance of, they really want to be environmental and they really want the energy code, but at the same time, that's part of what's impacting the cost to build. And they haven't been willing to come together and figure out a solution that works, both of them together right now related to that. That's, if they could figure one side or the other, it would be important. Councilmember Waller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have much on this legislative, but I would say that any way that you can bring up the unfunded mandates, especially for the eastern side and rural sided areas, it's a killer economically. And if they're great ideas, but if there's no funds available, I mean, even with homelessness and so on and so forth. So that would be my feedback.
We did talk a bit about that. You're touching on all the discussions we had for the day long. One of the thoughts that's being kicked around is, does AWC do a scorecard where we put out ahead of time, these are the issues, and then we're going to score our legislators based on how they respond in these areas, of which unfunded mandates was one of those that was talked about. And that's something that even when we get to our legislative discussion, once we're through the goals, then that's one question that I was going to ask is, as a city, do we want to create a scorecard to help our legislators understand this is how we're scoring based on these specific areas? So, others? So this isn't expected to have, this is really just to get you started thinking about this. This will be coming at future meetings when we get into our legislative agenda, but also if you have ideas for things for me to take to this committee in order to make sure it takes it from our voice, and if we can get something included in, then that becomes a much larger voice to be able to move things forward. Okay. Next item on the agenda is, actually, Sean, did you have any last? Okay. Consent agenda. The items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by a single motion of the City Council without separate discussion. I entertain a motion to read the consent agenda by title only.
So move.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pat, I got you. Thank you. With that, if you could read the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Pat had her hand raised.
Item 1 is a motion to dispense with the reading of the April 28, 2026 meeting minutes and approve them as submitted. Item 2, a motion to approve disbursements for advanced travel checks numbered 1494 through 1495, totaling $328. Next item is a motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable checks number 2011-34240 through 2011-34355, totaling $694,049.13. The next item is a motion to approve disbursements for electronic transfers numbered 730 through 744 for $1,712,014.18. And finally, a motion accepting funding from the Sherrod Family Memorial Fund in the amount of $15,000 for future improvements in 2026 for Neal Public Library's Heritage Edition.
Do any council members desire to have any motions removed from the consent agenda to be discussed separately? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second. With that, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pat's an aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And next item up is a regular agenda, ordinance 2608. And with that, Ariel.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. So I am here to talk to you about some zoning code changes to reflect recent state laws. So all of these are from RCW 35A, which is optional municipal codes. And I know that title seems a little misleading. It says optional. We do in fact have to follow them all. So in RCW 35A.21, it's provisions affecting all code cities. Pullman is a code city, and so recently, kind of over the last 3-ish years, there's been quite a few bills that have gone through the Washington State Legislature that we now have to update our city code to follow. So one of them is, it's all within, as I said, RCW 35A.21. So I'm just going to say the last bit of it so we don't have to take a bunch of time. So in 440, which was originally implemented in 2023, and then there was an update in 2025, still in 440, that is around the cities are no longer allowed to prohibit imposing additional regulations on new units that are entirely within the existing footprint of a building. So if you have an existing building and you add a unit, but you're not expanding in any way, there are things that we cannot now require of those buildings. One of those is additional parking. So, but as we go down the list, you'll see there's also additional parking that we'll be talking about. And so one of the changes is that we have to now enact that by June 30th of this year, so within the next month and a half, instead of after the periodic update, which we're also working on. And then also in 360, that prohibits cities from establishing any regulations on encampments, safe parking efforts, overnight shelters, and temporary small housing on any property that is owned or controlled by religious organizations. So doing some updates in our use chart around where these can be. And then in 430, that is where transitional permanent supportive housing, emergency shelters, overnight shelters can be located within our use chart as well within the zoning districts. And so we have put all of them in anywhere that hotels or motels, so all of our commercial districts, and then residential areas as well for permanent supportive housing. And kind of still going down the list, we have 310, which is the siting of organic material management facilities. And so we are allowing them in industrial areas, but as the county finds more areas that they would like them to be, we have to coordinate with them on where those are allowed and if needed, zone changes to support that. And then finally, one of the more widely known ones that came out is 445, which is the parking requirements. And so the state is now mandating what we can require for required off-street parking. So I know we just recently did a zoning code update where we lowered those already, but we're lowering them even more to match what the state has. And so there's a few different areas of the code that are being updated, all aligning with the recent state laws. But if there's any additional questions around either the legislation itself or how we're implementing it within the zoning code, I'd be happy to take those.
So with that, any questions? Councilmember Slumis.
Okay. I already sent this to you. You already answered it, but I'm aware that I'm supposed to ask it. Unfortunately, I am signed out on my computer, so I don't have the question in front of me because I forgot to get logged in before this started. But I did ask about the new zoning requirements for building within a site. Now that there has been one parking stall per 0.7 bedrooms, I think is what it is, and now they're not going to meet that. And I guess I'm just worried about what that means for WSU because there's already so many cars up there. So can you please tell me how people that live on WSU could then do something about that or work with the city with that?
Yeah, so as Tanya was talking about, so our current use chart, if you have a multifamily development, it's based off of the bedroom. State law says that it's now going to be based off the number of units, but in one of the earlier ones, If you're creating a new unit, we can't require additional parking. So one of the things we already have within city code, I think it's city code 12.50, it's residential restricted parking area. So that is an area, so we already have some up on College Hill, and multiple streets can come together and petition to make a restricted parking area. And in that petition process, they say days, times that they would like these areas to now have to require permit parking. So up, I think it's like Northeast Upper Drive, they require it at all times. So you have to have your parking permit that is issued through Pullman PD. You have to have it on your car that says, yes, you are allowed to park here, and it is for the residences themselves. It's not someone who, if they're going to an event, gets to apply for this permit. They have to be a resident and show proof that they do reside there.
Thank you.
Councilmember McDonald?
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. So there is some rules around like giving basically religious organizations some freedom for, hey, if you're trying to do something to support homeless or to support something related to, whatever, like an emergency response or something like that, that they've got a little bit of freedom there. It's not a free-for-all, right? Like you can still like do background checks for like sex offenders, I think, and you can do you can have some safety standards on top of that. And I just want to make sure I understand that that's just for religious organizations.
Yep, so the legislation that went through is only for either property that is owned by or controlled by a religious organization. Who is there is on them. We just can't require any additional regulations around it. So there are some provisions if, we can make ordinances that say, you can't have more than one every 3 months. 3 months is the max that you can limit those between time periods. But we wouldn't be doing any background checks or anything. That would be on the organization themselves who is providing that service.
And it also doesn't limit I think Pullman as a community does an amazing job rallying when there is like a emergency or something, right? Like the schools open up, I think the library opens up, the SCL Event Center has done things. It's like we can still do all of those things. It's not totally independent of this, right?
Correct.
Seeing none, thank you, Ariel. And with that, I would entertain a motion from the council.
Motion to approve ordinance number 26-08.
Is there a second? With that, if you can please read the ordinance. I'm sorry, did you have a question? Oh, she seconded.
Okay. This will take a little while. All right, ordinance number 26-08, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Pullman, Whitman County, Washington, relating to zoning, amending Pullman City Code Section 17.05.020, 17.35.080, 17.40.020, 17.70.030, and 17.75.070, and ordinance numbers 25-08, Section 1, Attachment A, 2025, 23-17, Section 1, 2023, 22-27, Section 1, Attachment A, 2022, 22-10, Section 1, 2022, 22-2, Section 8, 2022, 22-2, Section 3, 2022, 21-15, Section 6, 2021, 21-9, Section 1, 2021, 14-12, Section 1, 2014, 14-4, Section 3, 2014, 14-4, Section 2, 2014, 14-4, Section 1, 2014, 08-4, Section 1, 2008, 06-15, Section 3, 2006, 05-12, Section 2, 2005, 03-33, Section 33, 2003, 03-33, Section 30, 2003, 03-33, Section 12, 2003, 03-33, Section 11, 2003, 03-33, Section 1, 2003, 02-32, Section 9, 2002, 02-32, Section 1, 2002, 01-5, Section 10, 2001, 01-5, Section 9, 2001, 01-5, Section 1, 2001, 00-20, Section 1, 2000, 00-8, Section 7, 2000, 00-8, Section 1, 2000, 00-3, Section 3, 2000, 00-3, Section 2, 2000, 00-3, Section 1, 2000, 99-49, Section 2, 1999, 99-49, Section 1, 1999, 98-23, Section 1, 1998, 96-19, Section 3, 1996, 96-19, Section 2, 1996, 96-19, Section 1, 1996, 92-29, Section 1, 1992, 89-13, Section 2, 1989, and 87-9, Section 1, 1987, and other matters properly related thereto.
Nicely done. With that, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And Pat's an aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Next item up for B is, Thad, you're up again now that you've had a chance to take a drink.
Thank you, Mayor. This will be much quicker than that. We currently have an engagement letter with outside counsel, Witherspoon, Brassich, McPhee, to handle litigation matters, usually specific and/or agency complaints or administrative complaints. They've been helping with that. Some of those complaints have evolved into a state case, state court case. There's also a federal court case. All of these are brought by the same individual. Due to the recent filings in state and federal court, I am asking the council to approve a new engagement letter to clarify, increase the scope of Witherspoon, Brassich, McPhee's representation, just so, one, you all are aware of what's going on, but also to make sure there's no question about the spending authority. And this engagement letter is up to $100,000 is the spending limit. Hopefully, we don't get there, but were we to approach that, I would come back with a new engagement letter if necessary.
With that, any questions of Thad? Councilmember Vance?
What's the prior spending engagement amount?
So thank you for checking. Yes. And just for clarification, that was $100,000 as well. So this isn't increasing it to $200,000. It's just, and I apologize, I think there's been less than 20,000 so far.
Yeah, it's been, right now, our expenses for them are right under $10,000.
So we're stopping that one, amending it, and so if you all approve this, we start at zero again. But we don't, that doesn't mean we have 90 on that one and 100 on this one. We're amending the existing one for city council approval for 100,000, up to.
Okay, so we've spent 10,000 previously, and we're going to end that, and we're going to start a new contract for 100,000.
Yes.
Councilmember McDonald?
Okay, so I probably have a bunch of dumb questions. So the first one is like, why, if we're like in the 10,000 range right now, why start over now versus like when we're at, I don't know, 70 or 80 or 50? Is there like other components of this that make us want to do it really early?
Well, it's really what started this is the filing of the federal court case. And so I mean, there's things that are attorney-client privileged that I'm not going to discuss in an open meeting. But frankly, it just, with these two new filings, this stuff can add up really quickly, and so I wanted to bring it to the council so you're aware of it and also get your authority.
Okay, so then the other question, and it's probably just a dumb question on top of that, is the like, so like we already have, so that 100,000, is that strictly for these types of cases, or does that include like you coming down here for city council and everything like that?
So this is for outside counsel only. This isn't for me. So I don't do litigation. We retain outside counsel to do that litigation. So no, that 100,000 isn't paying for me to come down here and do my city attorney work. This is for litigation matters outside of my agreement with the city to provide city attorney services.
And then just one more, it's probably like, I'm new here. When we look for these services, I think Jeff from the finance team did this cool social post about the value and importance of shopping local. And just help me out with the history of that. Like, do we ask for like a request for proposal or whatever the process is for this, for local law firms to be able to support Pullman?
So part of this is we've worked with this firm before because they were assigned by WCIA in other matters. So they were assigned by our insurer. And so we've developed a good relationship with them. They have a lot of experience in this specific area of law and the claims that are being made by this individual. And so that is why we selected them. For attorney services, you don't have to go out for RFP. And so we already have the relationship. They've done good work for us in the past. They have a focus on defending municipalities, and so they fit the bill.
So this is really just like an amendment of $10,000. I mean, basically, that's what we're talking about. It's like 110 versus 100 because we already spent 10.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, and this also defines the scope a little more than the other one was a bit broader. This defines the scope, and also, I guess, extends the contract for another $10,000.
Definitely one of the weird things about, like I mentioned about social posts and like what you can and can't do and what cities can and can't do is like definitely one of the most mind-boggling things about city government is that whole process. And, you know, we have a tight budget. We're like shutting hours down for the library and whatever. It's like, man, it's a crappy way to, like, no offense, but it's a crappy way to have to spend money as a community, right? So.
Yeah, once a lawsuit's filed, you got to pay to defend it.
Councilmember Benz, did you have a follow-up? Any other questions of that? Seeing none, I then entertain a motion.
Move to authorize the mayor to accept and agree to terms to engage Witherspoon, Brachich, McPhee, PLLC for legal services not to exceed $100,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second? Do we need to read it, or is it good? I think we covered everything. Okay.
Sorry.
With that, any discussion for council? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Pat is an aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Next item up is discussion related to city council goals and priorities. And Sean, I'll turn it to you.
Oh, this is council goals. Go ahead and discuss. No. So at the last council meeting, staff was asked to prepare an analysis of the proposed goal projects with the lens of, have we started the work on the goal projects? What the status was, do we need any clarification, what departments were assigned to them, and when we anticipated that if they were put into council goal projects, when we could get them done. And so what I provided to the council earlier tonight was a, unfortunately, small printout. My apologies. The formatting was being rushed right as we were coming to council, of staff's analysis of the 22 or 23 goal projects that were originally proposed. They are listed in the order of which council prioritized them to keep them kind of in that same consistent order that you saw in the last round. So what I asked, or what I put on the spreadsheet there was, has the project been started? Just a simple yes or no. When it was started, and if it was started, then when do we believe it would be completed? The ongoing, long-term kind of were just generic terms and clauses there. I also put down the departments. CD is Community Development, PW Public Works, Finance and Administration is FA, PR for Parks and Rec, the Executive, which is basically me, and there was Library, LIB, PPD for Pullman Police Department, PFD for Pullman Fire Department. So they are listed there. And then the totals of each one by department is at the very end of that as well. So going through the initial goals, we noted some things there, and if you want, I can go over these item by item, or I can just entertain questions if you'd like.
Sorry, I have a request for item by item. So.
Yep, I can do that, absolutely.
And so if you can, I think, why don't you do that, and then we can then go to individual questions.
Sure. So the first goal project, as it was written, was explore business supportive regulations. Staff's comment on this was that zoning code changes were implemented by the City Council, including short-term rentals in 2025. Parking regulations and state mandated requirements. Thad just read that long-winded ordinance a minute ago. Thank you. And so for being here, so I didn't have to read it. The ongoing discussions on what business supportive regulations are, we feel that staff feels needs to be had by the council so as to kind of define that vague term, and so that there's a common understanding that everyone knows about what that means and what that goal is pointing forward to. The most important place this can be done right now is in the ongoing comprehensive plan update meetings. That's probably the best place that this could be pointed to in that case. Goal project, do you want to take questions as we go, or do you want me to just keep rolling?
I almost think when it's fresh in our minds, we should kind of give some feedback, but up to the council.
Sure.
I think that's fine. So any questions related to this one for staff? Councilmember Schumas?
Okay, sorry. Explore business supportive regulations. You just read that one side, but I don't understand how that supports business.
With?
What says zoning code changes? So is that only with short-term rentals that we're talking?
Well, and I think that's what the intent from staff's comment back was. We need to explain what business supportive regulations are. One could argue that the short-term rental regulations did allow expanded operation of short-term rentals in the R1 zone, where it wasn't before. So we opened up an entire zone of the city to allow short-term rentals to operate legally there. One could argue a different side of that. I'm not here to get into the pro and con of that particular piece of legislation, but in order for staff to go forward for this as a goal project, we need to further understand from council's vision what that term means and how to clear that up.
So when I'm thinking about that, I guess, I'm thinking about like, how do we help businesses get into downtown? Like, what can we do to pave a prettier path of getting people into a vacant building and that sort of stuff? So I guess, and everybody probably has a very different idea, but for me, it's about how do we get businesses started inside the city limits?
Councilmember Vance? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Weller?
You were about to talk.
Well, I love the idea of the, like, let's figure out, I don't know if that's a study session type discussion, but I definitely agree on, like, let's align on goals. I think, like, in my mind, some of the getting to yes or what can we do as part of that as well, and the, like, you know, what are they, we had a couple of local business, well, heck, we had Bobby here today talking about different things, so, like, I love the idea of aligning on what it actually means. That's the first step.
Councilmember Weller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would actually think that's a good idea as in order for us to also discuss, because for me, it's streamlining the process, minimizing any, much in line with the SWOT analysis that I was talking about. You know, what can we do to streamline those processes, make them minimal, less costly? But I think it does need a study session. So if we're looking at goals that we want to keep, because that's what we're doing, not trying to dive into each in general, I would say maybe keep that as a goal, and then we can have a future study session.
Okay. Councilmember Fajarin?
Thank you. I'm sympathetic to the not specific enough, which what SMART goals help out with. And so I'm just going to repeat a little bit about what I heard a couple weeks ago when we had those three business folks here, having star data or visualization of our data, a dashboard on the website, venture to market system, maybe not so specific enough, but regulations that might be more attractive to attracting high-skilled remote workers. I know we had somebody speak specifically about that. And then just asking folks, why did they close? I think that was something that we all agreed on, is just, you know, if the opportunity allows, it might not be it's got to be for a variety of different reasons, but figuring out specifically, cutting through the noise and the hearsay on why businesses did close and move away. So those were just some specifics that I hope might help out.
Councilmember Parks? Sorry.
So I like what Councilmember Weller said about explore business supportive regulations. That's a project under the goal. So it doesn't really, I mean, the goal is still there. I think staff is asking, what does that mean? Well, based on what Nathan said, to me, that would remove it from a staff point of view to a study group or a work group that council could suss that out. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does.
So that it takes it off staff's plate. We can sort of, just like the work groups we had from the first set of goals, the 2 years ago, that's something that we're going to figure out what that actually means, including the things that Eric mentioned and including working with people like the DPA and the chamber and business owners. So that's kind of my take on that.
So you're proposing that it moves as a work group, where the work group would be tasked with coming up with what that description is, because then it would go back, because the staff would then be doing the work then, once the work group fleshes out and brings back to council for council's approval of what it looks like. Sean, am I accurately capturing this?
And I think that's where staff was looking at it, is that council needs to, in our view, identify what these are, what tasks you'd like the staff to go and do on. I could bring back a bunch of what I think are business friendly, but it may not hit the mark of the 7 of you. So that's really where it needs to land.
Councilmember McDonald, I know you've been waiting patiently.
No, like, I'm never, like, I'm not good at being patient. I'm just like antsy all the time. So, like, I almost wonder if we should also reword it to be like foster business supportive environment, where it's like, right, it's like not necessarily, we're not looking for more regulations necessarily every time. In fact, maybe sometimes the opposite of that. So just terminology wise.
Would you, now, we have this under a general heading of, if we look at our goals, the business and economic development, where we said promote a year-round business community and economic growth, including a vibrant and active downtown, which recognizes border realities, emphasizes Pullman strengths, and involves regional collaboration. Would that be a good description for the work group?
I definitely like that better than
Yeah.
Than just explore business-supported regulations?
Correct.
Yeah, I think it's.
But I still think it's council work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just, for my notes, you wrote foster business supportive what, for my notes? Environment, thank you.
I like his big sentence more.
No, I loved it, so I just wanted to make sure I had it written down, thank you.
Well, and that's what's currently the heading that project had fallen under.
Yeah, so he's reading off of these.
Yeah, and I think especially, I mean, right, we just had the update earlier where it's like, the state's like, hey, don't worry, we're already experts at regulation. You're not even allowed to add anymore. So, yeah, I don't want to use that word.
Okay, so we can move on to the next one then.
Absolutely. Goal Project 2 was explore private-public partnerships for advancing the arts, business incubators, and sports complex. Staff looked at that and went, huh? So there was kind of a question there about further defining what those expectations were. What does that mean to the council in those areas? One's physical, one's another physical, and expanding the arts is not, or it could be. And so there was kind of, I think staff just needed a little more direction on this one to get us going on what that could look like.
And for clarification, those were the two projects that fell under this description of the business and economic development. So one possibility is that one work group that encompasses both of those could be one way to look at it. But with that, there were some hands. Who wants? Councilmember Fajarin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was actually going to kind of say that I feel like number 2 can be rolled into number 1 if there is going to be a work group. So I agree to that. I feel like that would fit really nicely with the charge of that business-friendly work group.
Councilmember Shumas?
I was just going to say, I really agree. I just think all in one. Doesn't
Okay.
need to be two different things.
Okay. Do you, I just want to do a clarification on this, because what we could do, I'm just trying to figure out what to bring back to you, is have promote a year-round business community and economic growth, including a vibrant and active downtown, which recognizes border realities, emphasizes Pullman strengths, and involves regional collaboration, and explores business supportive regulations, and we could take those two and just roll them up into that whole description. Would that, so that at least those are captured as a part of it. Would that help? Councilmember Parks?
Yeah, and I think that mother and stepmother is English teachers. We don't want run-on sentences. No, but I think that, so collaborations, period, and then the action items would be the projects. So, achieved by or working toward by doing these things. Does that make sense?
Sean, does that work for you?
Yeah, it does. I think that could help.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is going to come back to council. I mean, we're putting this back together, and then it'll be an opportunity for you to see it in the next forum. Thank you. Sean?
Number 3 was develop a transportation master plan, which includes a bicycle and pedestrian plan. Staff's response to this, it's currently in our 26 to 31, the current CIP TIP scheduled for work in 27 and 28. However, what we have done with our proposed 27 to 32 CIP was to move that out to 2032. That's due to budgeting concerns and staff workload analysis. And if council's desire to move that up, your opportunity would be at the CIP meetings that are coming forward in the staff's proposed CIP TIP for 27 to 32. But that would require us then to juggle and shuffle the deck a little bit on which projects then move forward, which projects move back. And so my caution to you is that if we want it to move forward, then we've got to push other projects in the CIP TIP back to accommodate it budgetarily and workload-wise.
Councilmember Weller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Sean, thank you. And I was remiss in not recognizing, I really appreciate that staff went through these and determined, you know, what is being worked on, and then feedback. I think it provides some clarity for us, so I really appreciate it. I know it took extra time, but very good. As far as the transportation master plan, you know, I would love to have this move forward, but and I know I'm going to hear feedback, especially from one person, about we need to move this forward, but I also understand the financial environment that we are currently in. And so I know I'm going to get a lot of heat, but if that's where the staff feels that it needs to be, then I trust their judgment. I just know that it's been on the to-do for a very, very long time. But yeah.
Councilmember Fajarin?
Thank you, Nathan. I'm just going to agree with your analysis of it. Since it's already being tracking in the CIP, I recommend that we remove it from the goals.
Councilmember McDonald?
I think the only thing that I would say is, like, is there an opportunity to be like, you know what, if we're touching a road, can we be a little bit opportunistic there, where if there is an opportunity to think about the bike path aspect of it or the pedestrian part of it? Like, I'm sure you guys already do that already, but just being mindful of that, not just being like, who cares about, and I'm not saying anybody's saying that, but like, it's like, you know, that just making sure that we're not like, who cares about pedestrians and bike riders, right? Just like a, hey, try and be opportunistic, but like the hardcore version happens in 2032.
And that's currently, thank you for that, Councilmember McDonald. The staff currently does that when we see opportunities arise. We have worked on that bike and ped plan in the past and got it to a draft format, if you will, that never was formally adopted. However, it's draft. And we use that as guidance when we do get into development proposals and opportunities where we could create or change or alter things. So it's kind of a visionary document for us, but it's definitely not one that we could throw out there and say, you will do this, or we will do this, because it's not technically adopted by council.
So I'm hearing overall to go ahead and let this be in the CIP process and not be in the goal process. Okay?
Goal Project 4 was explore annual SWOT analysis for city services. We felt as staff that this was an administrative function and not necessarily a council function. And our recommendation was that, first off, we needed a better understanding of what council was looking for on that, so we can take that as an administrative function, and what those outcomes and what the expectations of this were to be.
Councilmember Weller?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. And because I had suggested this, my whole thing is, these days I'm really thinking about not only in everyday human aspects, but in organizational aspects. How do you go from surviving to thriving and optimizing? And so I think right now we're kind of in a surviving state, but I'd like to see us looking, and it is, you're right, it is internal, I feel, to each department, where we can optimize, where maybe there's a little bit, I don't want to say fluff, that's not the right word, a little excess where is this actually necessary, the processes and so on, and optimize those, streamline those, money saving, so on and so forth. So yeah, I do agree it is internal. So I don't know if that adds any clarification of my thought process.
It does.
Okay.
So I'm not hearing any other comments, so I'm hearing treat this as an administrative function, and so it won't be in the goals then. Councilmember McDonald?
I'm okay with that. What I would say is, like, what I would love to see is if you guys do a SWOT analysis, it would be super cool to, like, see it as as a presentation at some point, right? It'd be nice to have some alignment and some awareness as well there, right? I think that's what you're kind of asking for. It's a little bit of visibility as you guys go through that.
Okay.
I think that would be very appropriate to present any results that come out of this.
Yeah.
Pat has a...
Pat?
Thank you. Yeah, I would suggest that we remove this as a goal. For one thing, I don't think it specifically as it's written falls under our purview. However, I do agree with Councilmember McDonald that from an informational standpoint, I think that would be very helpful. But I don't think it falls to us to require an annual SWOT analysis of staff and services that are being provided.
Okay, next one.
Thank you. Number 5, develop outcomes-based budget model, including financial reporting and dashboards. This is currently being developed. In some form of this will be in play, though not fully executed model for the 27-28 budget prep. It's a very large task, and there was no budget or additional staffing allocated for this item currently, so we're kind of working through it internally with existing staff. And it's our understanding and looking at how this will have to evolve without using consultant work. This would be probably a 2 to 3 budget cycles before a fully implemented outcomes-based budget model could be fully developed. And it would take some time and trials as we move through, a budget cycle here. We learn some lessons, we do it and move those into the next one. So this is kind of an ongoing and long-term project for staff right now.
Do you see this, but this is one that I could see, we could still keep it in the goals.
I agree.
Still keep it there, because this is something that, we check off, we get, in 2026, we get this far, but then what's the next step that we're going to work to keep improving? To keep it in, I don't want to take this one off. It feels good to keep it in front of everybody.
And I think staff would like to keep this on there as well.
Yeah. Councilmember Vance? Councilmember McDonald?
And one thing I love is the idea that you're trying to figure out how to do it in-house. So it's like, I think it's my decades of experience at SEL and like our phobia of consultants. Like, I love the idea of you guys building up the expertise and doing it yourself. You know the city and the environment better than anyone.
Thank you.
Councilmember Fajarin?
I think I'm just going to double down on just finding our own way to do priority-based budgeting. I know this is something I've advocated for, and I'm happy that we're bringing it forward, and I understand that it's going to take some budget cycles to get it down correctly. Yeah, so I like that we're doing it in-house.
Okay. Next item.
Moving on to page 2, number 6, was explore creating a downtown play area. Okay, we're working on that one. The project is listed in the current CIP, and I unfortunately saw there was a typo there. I put 29 to 31, that's 26 to 31. CIP is High Street Plaza improvements, And in that write-up, you'll notice there, if you look at that, it's in conjunction with a water utility work that needs to occur. So we need to get the water pipe in the ground first before we put a plaza on it, make it pretty, and put playground equipment on it. So that's currently in the process for 2028. We did propose to move that back to 2030 with the current CIP TIP being reviewed by council now. And the same concept, if we move that forward, we would have to juggle and shuffle the deck a little bit. But right now, we moved it back a couple years, primarily for staffing and budgetary purposes with the Parks General Fund purposes and some of the Metro Parks funding sources that we're looking at. I think it's good to keep it in here. Just know that it is already a listed project in the CIP TIP.
So staff's recommendation is to keep it. Councilmember Wright.
You're on mute, Pat.
muted.
Still on mute.
Hold on.
How about now?
Got it.
It's great to hear your voice.
Okay. Maybe or maybe not. I just have a suggestion, in the interest of time, if we could separate out those items that are CIP, TIP dependent and look at them separately, because they are already going to get some attention. And maybe at a point further on in this process, we either okay or deny the placement as far as dates are concerned. But it seems to me like a duplication of effort if we're already including, if they're already in a CIP, TIP status, why are we considering them now as part of our goals? I just suggest we separate them out. That'll give us a little more time and a better view of what we're really looking at here that haven't already been addressed. Just a thought.
Councilmember Schumas, and then.
Yeah, first off, I agree with Councilmember Wright. I think that's a great idea. And then when you say shuffle the deck, I don't really know what's in the budget, and I don't really know what other programs would fall to later. But you guys know the budget better than I do, and if you feel like this should move back, then I would understand that. I would like to say, though, that I would hope it wouldn't get moved back too many times, because I think something like that is a point of pride that would help with how people see this town and how people feel about Pullman. So that would be it.
Yeah, we don't move projects back lightly. It usually has to do with funding and workload availability, and how those look when we put it all together, and how much capacity staff has to do various projects in any one given year, so.
Councilmember Weller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I absolutely agree also, because I do feel, especially if we're thinking about streamlining, anything we have yes on these, I feel personally, if it's already being worked on, and this was kind of what I was saying last time, if it's already being worked on, I don't feel that we need to have it as a goal just to have the visual representation to the community that we have it as a goal. If it's being worked on, it's being worked on. So that's just, you know, and I mean, even with the financial, and I will allow, I'm not allow, that sounds really bad. Even the develop outcomes, I'm like, if these things are being worked on, there's really no sense for us to put them in the goals. But.
Councilmember McDonald?
Mine was just more tactical, and yeah, whatever, I guess I'm started now. So when we go through the CIP stuff, like, we would have the opportunity, I mean, I already was on the committee with.
Yes.
But when it comes here, like, if we really are like, man, we really want this downtown play area, maybe more than the dog park, or whatever it is, it's like, we have the opportunity to have that discussion at that point.
We do. There would be a robust discussion about the colors of money at that time. in which case then we needed to take a look at what projects are funded and which are not. So if, as an example, if you said, I really want High Street Plaza, but I don't want, but we've got to move the Transportation Master Plan as two different funding sources. And so we've got some discussions there that would likely come out of moving projects around like that.
So we have a recommendation that a number of people have picked up on, and I just wanted, where the suggestion was for us to look at all the ones that are identified as CIP and just look to see, are there any of them that we would like to still try to retain as a goal as opposed to let it happen within the CIP process. And Sean, as I'm looking at it, the downtown play area, number 6, number 7, which is the facilities master plan,
Number 7 is not actually a CIP project. It's dealing with the CIP project. So creating a facilities master plan in 7, just kind of bouncing forward there, was taking a look at all of the facility operation, the facility capital projects that we had in the list, like the police department, upgrades, the fire station 3, things like that. And it was developing a master plan of how we want to build our facilities long term. We've got a large appetite, a very expensive appetite for nice new things, and we had that kind of programmed in, but we had no funding sources for those constructions. So it's kind of building what that looks like.
Let me pull that one out. So we have number 6, downtown play area, then I think the next one is number 11, the Veterans Park?
Correct.
So the Veterans Park, I see that listed, and then...
Sorry, this is why I was saying anything that's listed as a Y, just, those are the ones.
You have a Y. We had a couple that were saying just start with the CIPs. And
if we do the CIPs, we're going to be going down each one and saying, wait, now which one's CIP? We did this so that we know staff is working on them currently. So there's a pretty straightforward, yes, it's being worked on, yes, it's being worked on, yes, it's, if we're going to go through and say CIP or not CIP, I mean.
So as a council, which way you want to do it? Do you want to look at all, do you want to just look at the yeses, or do you want to look specifically just the CIPs? Councilmember Parks?
I do agree with Councilmember Weller, but number 10, it says, yes, we're working on it, increase city commissions, committees, and boards. And then it said, once council adopts their goals, the goals will be passed along to the committees for their goal preparation. So that's kind of a squishy one, because I think it should stay in the goals, but we don't really have to, does that make, so I just happened to see that and thought.
So we can look at either the CIPs or the yeses, and then what I would say is whichever we decide, and if we say we want to look at the yeses, then we would say, look at all the yeses. Are there any that you would like to have further discussion on? If not, then all the yeses would be removed. Now, I would want to look to staff to make sure staff's recommendation is that they're also removed. That's what the discussion is. Councilmember Fajarin.
Thank you. To move us forward, I would say we start with the yeses.
Councilmember McDonald?
Yeah, I think we should maybe gloss over them, but not necessarily totally skip them, because like the very first one we did was a yes, and then it's like, oh, I'm not sure what you mean. And we read it and we're like, oh, we're not sure you do either. And so I think there are cases where it's like, oh, we need to work on alignment of what yes actually means. I think we have to be a little mindful of that.
So what I'm going to propose is for you to look at the yeses right now in order to identify are there any yeses that you would like to pull out. And I'm going to look to staff for staff, are there, and I'm going to give staff the first opportunity to say, are there any yeses that they would like to pull out and have further discussion on, or for those yeses to be removed from the current goals?
I think that there are opportunities there for a little bit of discussion on those, and some of those, while we may have started it, there's further clarification we feel are necessary.
Yeah.
And as an example, just a quick example, item 6, that hasn't started yet for the downtown play area, but it's in the CIP. So that was an in that we're pulling out because it's CIP related. And so you might want to need to clarify, is it just a straight yes, or is it a CIP thing? Because there's only really 3 or 4 items that are in the CIP we could pull out right now, and we've just discussed those particular items. But some of the other ones, I think staff would like to maybe kind of just go over them
Yeah.
so that we understand what the expectations are from council, rather than just saying, yeah, we don't want to include it. Okay, then how does staff know what the expectation is? So that's kind of what, a little bit of why I prepped it the way I did. I personally would like to go through them kind of the line by line as we're going, knowing that it's going to take a little bit of time, but we want to get it right.
Yep, that's fine.
Councilmember McDonald?
I love what you're proposing, and then I think we as council can just be like a little bit sensitive to if it's in CIP, if it says yes, maybe it's like cruise through it if it's obvious that everyone's on the same page or something.
Yeah, that's good.
Councilmember Weller? Sorry.
That's all right. They're both W's.
It's W's.
Yeah. So where are we at now? Are we on 7 or 8?
So we're on 6.
We're on.
We just finished 6
We finished it.
We're on 7.
with the play area, and that was the CIP area. So number 7 was the facilities master plan. I just kind of talked about that a little bit. We're still going to proceed with that regardless. If council has that in their goals or not, I feel like that's an important thing for staff to have so that we can guide the CIP-TIP process.
Okay, so we're done with 7 then, we're on 8, right?
Sure.
So 7 stays in or 7 goes out?
I think it should go
We
out
pull it.
because it's already being worked on. It seems internal.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
8 was review the recommendations in the pros plan, and council adopted that plan last year. And staff feels like this project could come out knowing that the Parks Department is fully versed in the pros plan and would only move projects forward in the CIP if they were part of the pros plan, and can definitely come in and give a presentation about what those projects are if we wanted to have that again. But council's already seen those projects as they adopted the pros plan.
Yeah, and once, I would also suggest, I was the one that was really like, we need a dog leash, off-leash areas. I would almost say roping that into the pros, because I know the pros had that as a subset, as a suggestion, so then we can just eliminate both of those, because that'll be in the pros. Just a suggestion, but
So for clarification, that was item number 19, explore creating dog off-leash areas.
That's right.
And the downtown play area, I think you could kind of loop into that whole thing as well, I think.
Likely.
But that's okay.
So it's not on the goals, but staff's working it through the pros process.
Okay.
So that's removal of 8 and also of 19.
Number 9 was simplify the access points for community engagement. This is ongoing work and relates to the 311, combining front desks, touch points, website interactions, and we're already kind of working on that. It's a slower process, but that is something that staff is working towards, particularly the 311 system after our asset management is involved.
so I'm speaking too much, so I will move it.
Councilmember Fajarin?
And thank you, Sean. For clarification, the 311 system is in the CIP?
It is.
Okay.
I'm looking to Jeff. I believe it is. Yeah.
Okay. Then yeah, same deal. If it's in the, my main advocacy for this one is specifically tied to the 311 system, and if that's in the CIP, then I'm fine.
So I'm hearing removal of 9. Okay?
10 was increase city committees, commissions, and boards' alignment with the council goals. And as we just briefly discussed, once the council adopts the goals, our plan was to take those goals, give them to the boards and commissions, and say, all right, develop your goals in alignment with the council's goals, and then bring those back during their annual reports back to the council. So I feel like this is kind of already in the works. It's part of our administrative work, and likely doesn't need to be a council goal in this case.
Yeah. And just as a clarification, they would draft goals that they would bring to council for approval So council would, so they don't just draft their goals, but it needs to be under the approval of council.
They would be presenting what goals they have established that
Yeah.
align with the council's, yes.
And and part of it is also, we have plans for all the committees to be presenting to council too, so you have a better idea of what the committees are working on.
Correct.
Okay.
I think if I could just make one
Yes.
mention on that one. Increased city committees, et cetera, is very, at least semantically, misleading for me. And I read that to say we're going to increase committees, commissions, and boards. I think we just need to rephrase it to say increase alignment, because the last thing I think we need is one more committee.
As staff, I concur.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a committee to study
But our
that.
understanding is we just want to include this one in, or are we keeping that?
I would say remove. If it's internal and it's being
Yeah,
worked
yeah.
on, there's no reason
Yeah.
to have it here.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
We could
Okay,
remove it.
I'm hearing that consensus.
And the
feel like a
next one is
hatchet.
already being worked on.
Veterans Park is being worked on, and that was one that was already removed. 12 was explore sliding scale utility rates. We put this on as starting in Q2 of '27 and finishing by the end of '27. There's going to be some significant legal review that needs to occur with this, and financial review as well. So this will likely require, I put in there, Community Action Center may be of assistance in researching. With the in-house work required, this would, the dates that we had. If council was desirous of this moving forward, we could put in a budget request for, moving forward faster, we could put in a budget request in the next budget proposal for professional services to assist us with this. But having it handled in-house is going to take a little bit longer than a consultant would likely have it.
So, council members Schumas?
Well, this one was my idea.
Yeah.
And I think that we're all trying to be really careful with the budget. So I wouldn't want to look out, I wouldn't want to bring something that would have us look outside and spend more money.
Okay.
So I'm fine with it taking time,
Okay.
so.
So it stays in, but we understand that it's not, it's going to be, staff's going to work on it with,
Yep.
okay, so we keep that
We're
one.
okay with that.
So, I don't want to be super unpopular here, but, and maybe I'm just, like Nathan said, I was getting antsy to say something. Going back to, sorry, number 9. I just wonder if there's an opportunity, I mean, I think we all heard, like, the ones that just got elected, the need for, like, more, and Mayor, I've heard the idea of, like, on the website, getting people to send email to the right place versus just email all of city council, everything that they possibly could. I kind of wonder if, like, between the, like, we talked about, like social media updates and, like, getting people to the right place, I still wonder if there's, like, a broader communication thing that maybe should stay in.
I think you're on the right track, and if we look at the heading that project was under, it's increased community accessibility, engagement, and trust with the attitude of getting to yes, consistent customer experience, and increased communications between elected officials, staff, volunteers, and residents. So that still stays in.
Perfect.
The goal is there, that's the goal project is what's being removed.
Okay, perfect.
And number 13 was explore mapping the tree canopy as part of exploring citywide urban forestry program. This is already being done, and almost done. The current stormwater NPDES Phase 2 permit mandated this requirement for city-controlled rights-of-way and city-controlled properties. And our GIS team has found an algorithm to actually start that work automatically with private properties, which we anticipate will likely come in the next permit cycle anyway. So staff's recommendation is this project be removed from the list as it is inches from the finish line right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, sounds good.
14 was develop an organization restructuring plan. As we're working through the budget reductions and strategic restructuring ideas, my intent is to have some kind of a proposal, if any, back to the council towards the end of this year. And so I think that this can stay in as a project goal, or a goal project, I'm sorry, just knowing that it is currently being worked on right now with kind of a high look and lens with it.
Councilmember Weller?
I personally, so we've been through, and I'm sure Councilmember Wright can attest to this, reorganization and restructuring plans many, many different times. I don't think they've ever been on a goal. So I don't really feel that it needs to stay on as a goal. It just seems like fluff. Sorry. I mean,
That's okay.
I respectfully disagree. Sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I agree.
I'm hearing consensus to not continue it, okay?
15 was review RV zoning. The initial review was done, the council was given an email memo back in April regarding existing conditions. And if there's further direction on this goal project, we would kind of need to have a crafted scope identifying what all is needing to be looked at. So I could see this maybe falling under a council work group to kind of guide where they think the vision of this really is intended to go.
John, would you see this as a work group, or do you see this as a study session? I mean, the work groups take multiple months study session.
I think it could be a combination of both. I think there's further definition in what review RV zoning means, and if it's just review it, well, that's been done. And so if it's review it with what intent and what expediency, that's where we need a little more clarification.
So, I mean, because we have the business and economic development work group that you could roll this piece into if you wanted to go that route or keep it separate. So, Councilmember Shumas?
I was actually just going to say what you said. I see all this as part of like a business-friendly master plan. I think we could roll it into that first part. It's about getting people here and having them spend money in Pullman and enjoy Pullman. I think that all falls under the same thing.
Other thought? Councilmember McDonald?
Yeah, and I mean, I love the idea of a study session, and the sooner I mean, whatever, we're all getting the same emails. Like, the sooner we can figure out how to make it super easy for people to come here and spend money and stay in Pullman, the better off it's going to be. Like, you can tell the university's spending a lot of time and money on it. Our house is blinded by the new bright screen for the football stadium is like a mile and a half away. Like, I'm excited about it, but yeah, we should figure this stuff out. Not just so we stop getting the emails, but.
Councilmember Vance?
I was just going to say, I agree 100%.
Okay. So that one would roll up into the business and economic development work group.
16, explore creation of a resident academy. This is one that I'm personally working on with our recreation manager, Megan Vining. And we're working a possible program this year so that we can maybe present it to council for rollout with the recreation programming in 2027. So while this is admirable, we are currently making this happen.
Then I would suggest removing it.
Yep.
Okay.
Review the 17, review sign ordinance. This was very vague, and we didn't understand exactly what the intent was on this. And so we're looking for some further guidance on this one.
Pat, I think this was one that you had suggested. I think it came out of it.
Me?
This
I
had to
think
do
it
with
was
the
part
scooters?
of.
Me? I don't think so.
Okay.
I think this was specific to that, sorry. I think this was specific really to that first topic of the like business friendly, getting to yes. Like, I think Pat did make a comment about a couple of different downtown businesses and some frustrations around signs. I think figuring out that I think this is totally part of that number one goal
Okay.
of how do we work out some of those
Okay.
frustrations.
I'm sorry, Pat. Councilmember Vance?
I was just trying to have my memory jogged, so that helped.
It was a lot of discussions that day. Councilmember Shumas?
I'm wondering if some of this too was driven by the fact that there are some signs downtown that are maybe not within code. And I don't, but I'm not sure, but I think
I'd
that
be,
was.
yeah, I'd be careful making a statement.
Okay, okay, well, I wasn't entirely sure. Not, I guess there's like a TV screen or something on one of the stores that is not, I'm not
You're
entirely
talking
sure.
about, I believe there's a digital display above my office on their marquee.
No, this is at
And there's
the,
another one on the vape shop on Main Street.
I think that's the one that maybe this was in regards to, and I'm not saying that it is, or that I know what, but I think they're right, that all falls into, being business friendly, I guess, what that looks like when businesses have signs out.
Councilmember Weller?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I feel like if the ordinance needs reviewed, it needs to be reviewed by staff. I don't think that we should be, we're not experts. We can give feedback like in the first goal of business friendly, so on and so forth. But if it's an ordinance, that's outside our purview. We get sued. So personally,
I think there's still an opportunity as well to have the council maybe remand that back to the planning commission to take a look at and review, which is where that would kind of land on as well. It may not need to be a council goal, but that could happen pretty much at any time council decides, so.
Okay. Well, and if I could just interject too in regard to the sign ordinance. We have these ordinances, and yet bringing people into compliance on some of them is always difficult. And I can tell you 2 or 3 different sign issues that have occurred over the years, and nobody ever brings anybody into compliance. So I don't think we need to have an ordinance just to have an ordinance. We need to make sure that whatever we're proposing is also realistic, and that enforcement, if we choose to go that direction, is realistic as well.
And to remove it if we're not going to enforce it, right?
Exactly.
So I'm hearing not to include this is what I think is the consensus that I'm hearing. Okay, so
I think so.
So it's not included.
Thank you. 18 was explore the adoption of citywide or College Hill design standards. This seemed quite vague as well, as there are some design standards in play in certain areas. And if it was just a review of those codes, standards, what was the outcome that was expected?
Councilmember Fajarin, and then.
Thank you. My support of number 18 is strictly on the pertains to the College Hill design standards. I'm just repeating a goal that the College Hill Association has submitted to the council every budget cycle, and it's to adopt and implement design review standards for new construction in College Hill core neighborhood. Yeah, I'm curious. So those who have done the walking tour have seen examples on College Hill. I've seen examples of home builds and new builds that don't really go really well together with the College Hill aesthetic, especially since it's a historical district. So it's my understanding that many years ago they proposed some different design review draft concepts. I'm not sure where that's at right now, but that's why I elevated this goal to council, is because College Hill Association has for many years advocated for it.
Councilmember Weller?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. If we're going to do a citywide, there's a good way to kill economic vitality, and that's citywide design standards. So I would suggest, if we're going to explore College Hill, I thought with the historic district there are certain requirements. Perhaps I'm wrong, but I would not say we go a blanket city design standard the entire way. So,
Councilmember Schumas?
I was just going to be in agreement with Councilmember Fajarin. Certainly not citywide, but I mean, the people who live on College Hill they have a lot of pride in their area, and they really want to make it and keep it as livable as possible in such a high-density area. And so helping them in any way that I can is something that I'm interested in doing. So I just would like to agree with Jared.
Councilmember-
But also, I don't think citywide. And then Councilmember Parks just pointed out that the DPA does have design standards for downtown, going back to the sign thing, or they're working on them, so.
Well, they're working on, but nobody has to, they're not a city just standard.
Right. So, but I was just saying, like, as far as that, like, we're shelving that for right now, but that's something that could maybe be done in conjunction with them, so.
Because Councilmember Parks, okay, Councilmember McDonald? Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Nathan. It's like, one problem we don't have is having too many houses and whatnot built anywhere, let alone on College Hill. Like, I feel like this is an area where that would be a problem that I would like to have, is let's figure out that we have such a high demand for that we got to figure out how to make sure that they're within a reasonable standard. But right now, I would vote to remove it.
Councilmember Vance.
I'm on the fence as well with keeping it or removing it. I think if we keep it, it's definitely, I would want it to be pertaining specifically to College Hill and not citywide, and really more so of the exploratory nature of what does this look like, not this is what we're going to do.
So I'm hearing, I didn't hear anybody supporting citywide. I heard some supporting College Hill, and I had some supporting just removing this. Councilmember Weller?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. So I have a bit of, huge supporter of College Hill, but I have a little challenge with a directed goal for a specific organization. That just kind of speaks favoritism, even though they're really, really important. I think it gets into some slippery slopes of they asked for this, so we should put it forward. If we want to explore it in conjunction with them, I think that would be good. I think that's a good thing. But having it directed at, they asked for this, as has already been spoken, and we should do it. So I don't think it should be a goal. We can explore this otherwise, but I think that's a slippery slope.
Sean, did you have?
Yeah, I wanted to mention too that College Hill is a large area. And I think in our minds, we typically think of the area near campus, the historical area, versus all of College Hill, which includes apartment land and everything else. And I want to be cognizant of the fact that historical area is actually a national historical area, not a local one. And so we have very little to say on what kinds of things go in there. I've got some planning staff in the room now that are more than willing to come up and explain that difference or those similarities, and if the council so chooses.
Yeah, I thought there were already requirements for a historic district area. That was my belief.
Ariel, come on up.
There we go, the expert.
You've waited for this opportunity.
Yes, so there are 3 types of historic districts. You can have a local, a state, or a national district. For a national district, there are very set requirements you have to get that designation. But then once you get that designation, you're kind of hands-off. There are things you can do to remove that designation if you have too much development that does not keep the character of the district as it was established. So if you have your set timeline of this is our historical significant dates, so whether that's 1890 to 1975 or whatever it is, like if you start having too much development that does not follow those historic integrities, you can have that taken away. As a local jurisdiction, we have no say over the development in the national district per national guidelines. If we made a local district, then we could create design guidelines saying you are going to follow you have to have brick exteriors, you can't have more than a 2-story house, your front door has to face this way, you have to have casement-style windows, if you are creating a craftsman style, you have to follow this. But if it's just a national district, we don't actually have any say over the design standards itself.
And what do we have right now on College Hill?
It's a national historic district.
Yeah, okay.
We have locally listed properties, but we don't have any local district within Pullman right now.
So we already have standards that are established for us by the national, correct? In that College Hill core historic district area?
They don't have design standards. No, you have your application that you base off of the current look of your district, and then as development happens within it, that could hinder your national status listing. But we don't have anything saying, since you are now doing construction within the national district on College Hill, you have to follow these guidelines. It's only if it's a local district do we have any jurisdiction to tell them what design guidelines they have to follow.
So it's the
Maybe to help clarify, because it has a national designation, the designation is based on that time period that's been identified. So for the city to go in and create design standards, we can't apply them because the design standard has already been set that it needs to meet this time period. Would that?
There's no set design standards for a national district. The National Park Service just reviews your application saying our timeline of significance is this date to this date. Here's all of the properties that would be significant, non-significant, accessory buildings, whatever it is. And that's all they look at. There is nothing saying now all development has to follow this set of design. So
we could add design standards.
We could.
Okay.
It's not typical for a national district that a local jurisdiction would have those. We would go for a local historic district, and then it'd be a lot easier to say, now that you're in a local historic district, here are our local standards that you have to follow.
Okay, I'm just trying to help clarify. So, Councilmember Weller?
I would suggest this seems like a much more in-depth topic than we're going to be able to tackle right here. We remove it, and then we kind of look at this at a different time.
Councilmember Vance?
Yeah, thank you. Just really quickly, and I think I know kind of roughly the geography of the area that is designated as this, but can you just loosely kind of describe that core area just for the audience?
Yeah, so it's typically called the College Hill Core, and so it's the south side of Stadium, kind of the like Illinois, Monroe, Michigan area, B Street, and then I don't think it extends past Colorado.
Thank you.
We do have a GIS map that shows you the districts.
Councilmember McDonald? You had a hand up earlier. Okay. Councilmember Shumas?
Well, I was just going to say, could this be like a study session, like something we pull off and then take time to learn about? And then College Hill could maybe come in, College Hill Association could come and talk to us, was one. And two, just as important, your hair looks fantastic.
Thank you. Kind of going back to some of the previous conversation, there are draft design standards for the College Hill core area that I think was started in 2013, but hadn't gone forward anywhere, so they're still in draft form.
So I'm hearing what Councilmember Shumas said kind of is where I'm hearing a lot of people in agreement. From staff, is this something that would be good to have a goal that says explore the adoption of College Hill Design Standard, because it's an exploration and that's...
Maybe it's best, like Councilmember Shumas proposed, is to have more of an education component in the future. This can always be added in as a council goal at a later time, because the work that would go towards creating a local historical district and all of that, it would be an extensive amount of work. And so maybe there's more of an educational component that could come to the council first.
So rather than a goal for it to be something that, a request for a study session around this.
So at the next meeting, under future agenda items, I would just bring up.
You can do that today.
I could do that today? Well,
Yep.
then, that's what I'm doing now. Do I need to say anything specific?
Talk to the mayor.
So I hear that you're requesting a study session
Yeah.
for further understanding as it relates to College Hill design standards.
Second.
Councilmember Fajarin? Well, no, I just need 2 council members to request it. So, Councilmember Fajarin?
I'll request it 2 second, and before that study session, everybody should take the opportunity to do the College Hill walking tour, that College Hill Association. And I know.
Yes.
It's very,
Okay.
very enlightening.
Okay. So I hear in light of that, we would drop this as a goal. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being here.
I appreciate her being here too. Thank you.
Okay.
19, we've already agreed on the dog leash areas to roll into the pros discussion. 20 was review community entrances. I think I know what this is, but I wanted to make sure, so we were asking kind of before I stuck my foot in my mouth is what the council's intent on this was. I believe it was related to the entrance areas within the state or within the city as you enter from county to city and looking to beautify those, but I wanted to get clarification on that.
Yes.
Councilmember Schumas.
Okay, I put that there, and yes, I love Pullman, and every time I drive in, all you see is like RV parks and like land scars, and I would just love for our entrances to be beautiful.
We
With
have
trees.
we have some designated entry points, like if you keep going down Davis Way towards downtown, you do get to the kind of the more formal ones there. It sounds like you're looking for additional entrances at the true city limit lines. In
Yes.
which case then, my caution is that if we go down that path, as we annex, we then create more entrance points. And that could be, we keep going one direction down the street, like Airport Road, we keep going down there, we put more out there, and we keep chasing this project.
Councilmember Vance.
I don't know. I was just, I don't really have much to add to this.
Councilmember Fajarin.
Kind of, thank you. Just an offbeat question, because I thought about it when I was driving in. What does it take, how do we get more businesses on, like, exit here for this type of food, and there's businesses highlighted? I think it's pretty dated, and we have some new businesses. And what does it take to?
Those
is it through the
businesses
state?
actually have to apply with the Department of Transportation. Those
wow.
are their controlled blue signs out on, let's say, 195.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure the exact process, but that's nothing that the city controls.
Yeah, and I believe there's also some type of charge.
I'm not,
For them,
I've never teased that out, so I don't know that.
Tell Chamber to reach out.
So,
I mean, this is
Councilmember?
just a comment, but like for me, like the best sign for Pullman in my book, and I think it's the university that does this in sponsorship with like local farmers and sponsor, but honestly, the wheat field murals that could move year from year. I would love to figure out, is there something we can do to help encourage that or support that or give good feedback about it?
I believe that was a sponsorship with local credit union, and that sponsorship ended with that particular landowner.
So I'll ask staff this question that could prompt council. Is this something kind of similar to what we just did related with the design standards of where this would be appropriate for a study session to kind of get a better grasp of the concepts and what it entails? Or
I think the study session could definitely guide that, and these would likely turn into CIP projects that we would need to, as an example, purchase property, engage the Arts Commission, design something. What does that look like? Where does it go? It could be an ongoing kind of rolling project, if you will, if we needed to make it that, or if there was a one specific targeted location, we could definitely look at that too. But I think a study session to kind of define the scope might be a first step.
I think we're going to have a lot of studies.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great idea about the art commission. I just would love to, that drive into Pullman is just not that attractive.
Okay, so what I hear is not including the review committee entrances in the goal, and there may at some point be a request. John?
Yep, number 21, 22, and 23, the council already previously agreed to remove those three from the list. I added them on there just for discussion purposes. Transit routes and the naming of transit service levels is done annually, which is one of the recommendations we had to remove that. Developing a fleet electrification master plan is still in the public works kind of vision for our fleet, and while it may not be a council particular goal, we're likely to move forward with that in a future CIP request. And then the last one is 23, review the overhanging vegetation management program. I think that kind of rolls partially into the pros plan, partially into the Parks Department capital programming. But further scope definitions requested for why that was a requested project. And so it was already previously cut. Thus concludes staff's review of council's proposed goal projects.
So what I heard and what I'll work with staff on is bringing forth the draft back to council where you're recommending adding another work group, so there would be 5 work groups, the business economic development, housing and influence and partnership, tourism and welcoming. And then there's 2 that are administrative work groups, the transportation routes and in-town rail. Then as we move to, as I'm just kind of working my way through the list, within the business economic development, we roll in the business supportive regulations, the private-public partnerships for advancing the arts, and the RV piece goes up into that business and economic development. Under finances, everything stays the same, so we keep the develop outcome-based budget model, including financial reporting dashboards, and explore sliding scale utility rates are the 2 that I saw. And then the others, all those other projects have gone away. Now, one thing I might suggest is right now we have right now the work groups, and then we have our goals where we have a finance with a finance description with 2 projects listed. We have a community engagement and communication that's just description, and operations just description, and facilities and staff support, they're just description. The only ones that actually have a project under them is the finance one. Sean, I'm looking to you. Does it make sense for consistency to actually see if we can take those 2 projects and roll them into the verbiage of the finance? So we have goals in each of those areas, but no actual projects. And I'm looking to council, do you want to just keep the 2 projects under finance, but the rest of them don't have any projects listed? So and I'll kind of look to staff first, your thoughts.
Can I answer next time?
Huh?
Can I answer next time? I wasn't in my mind thinking that way, so I need to
Okay.
process what that looks like.
Okay. So we'll keep those separated out. We will redo this and then bring this back at a future council meeting. Any other discussion on this related to it? Okay. And then out of this, it'll then be an opportunity to continue refinement of the goals moving forward. I feel this has been a very helpful discussion. Staff,
Thank
are
you. Absolutely, yeah. I want to make, just to clarify, Mayor, your comment about a future meeting. This will not happen next week.
No.
So the next tentative scheduled meeting would be Tuesday, June 9th, that this would come back from staff.
So there's a study session next week.
There's a study session next week.
The goals will not be on
The goals
them.
will not be at the next week's
So
meeting.
this would come back on the 9th is the,
I have to turn around agenda items by 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and that's
This
likely
will not be ready.
in my cards.
okay, that ends our discussion items. I don't believe we have any new business to come before us and no executive session. So with that, I'd entertain a motion. What?
No, we're good.
Okay,
She was
entertain a
clarifying
motion
my
for
thoughts.
adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Pat.